Welcome to Not Your Wellness Guru, the podcast for those who are done with the noise and ready to get back to how we were actually designed to heal. I'm Amanda, holistic health coach, herbalist, and rebel with a cause, here to help you unlearn all the wellness rules that never served you and remember the ones that always did. Around here, we trust the body, honor God's design, and make healing simple again. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by what health is supposed to look like, this space is for you. Quick note, this show is for education and encouragement. It's not medical advice, so always talk to a trusted health professional and follow what feels right to your body. Let's get into it. So, if you listened to my first episode, you got a really honest, messy whole backstory. And it's a part where I just laid everything out on the table. And while I'm glad you know where I've been, this is where we start actually moving forward, not staying in the past. So from here on out, we are keeping things very simple, one topic, one conversation, one takeaway that you can actually use in your real life, like this week. No overwhelm, no perfect outlines, just clearing the noise so that you can focus on what really matters for your health in your real life. Because God did not design us for constant overwhelm. He created us for rhythms of work and rest. And that's what we're going to talk about here, starting today with why your motivation might feel stuck and how to get back without pushing harder or adding more to your plate. Because that's not actually helpful. Motivation. A lot of people struggle with not having motivation or feeling like it's something that they have to force and push towards. But motivation is not about willpower. It's really about your brain chemistry. This was something that was really interesting to me and something that is a big topic right now, especially on social media. So let's talk about it. Why do we struggle with motivation? What does that actually look like? And what are some simple things that we can do to start shifting in a way that feels good and works with your body and not against it? So, do you ever have a day where you know what you need to do, but you just cannot make yourself do it? And then you get to the point where you're beating yourself up. You're not actually lazy. There's actually a brain chemistry component here that a lot of people don't know about, and it needs to be talked about. We are actually talking about dopamine. Now, dopamine is essentially a neurotransmitter. This means that it's a chemical messenger in your brain. If you will, think of it like a mail service or a mailman. It's motivation mail. It tells you and tells part of your brain when you check something off of a list or complete a project. But it's being overused now in ways that are actually harmful to us. Now, there are many things that deplete our dopamine, and the whole point is to have balanced dopamine. Just like hormones, we want balanced hormones. We really want balanced dopamine levels as well. There are a lot of things that deplete dopamine, like constant multitasking, overload, too much quick reward with social media. Every time you scroll, every time you get a like or a comment, that gives you a really small dopamine hit. That over time can really drain your dopamine tank. Using it for small things like social media over and over again drains the tank to where you don't have dopamine in it for the things that matter, real life things. Things that can increase your dopamine level are small wins, movement like stretching or walking, doing creative activities like painting or journaling or gardening. Good sleep is really important to dopamine levels because the brain actually resets and replenishes your dopamine levels while you sleep. So it is important to get good sleep if you're struggling with motivation or feeling like you're lazy. It could be your dopamine levels because you're overfunctioning and you're not sleeping well. Just being aware of the things that increase and decrease our dopamine levels can really help us notice and make small shifts in our life that can make us feel better. I've fallen into this trap for many, many years. I really used to think that I was lazy or unmotivated. I used to think, gosh, Amanda, Why can't you get it together? Get your crap together. You know you need to do these things. Like, why can't you just do it? That would lead into a spiral of making me feel guilty and just bad about myself. Especially as a mother and a business person, it was so hard for me to work and check things off and like have those wins that drained my dopamine and then come home and be normal and not have boxes to check off with my children or my family or with my husband's. I was always on. It I couldn't shift from one to another. So even though I was always on, I wasn't always productive. And those are two very different things. I tried to fix it by adding more, right? I used planners and to-do lists and other systems, different flows to my life and having on like really on days and then having really off days. That didn't really work with my body's systems either. That's not how we were created. And I had so much mom guilt, just general human guilt from not performing, not doing the things that needed to be done. It was really detrimental to my mental health. And I just tried to push harder and harder. And the more I pushed, the worse it got until I just crashed. It really led to a lot of burnout for me. And that's the last thing that I want for you. So here's what dopamine really actually does in your body, in your brain. Dopamine is your brain's do it again chemical. It's not really just pleasure, it supports the drive to start and finish projects. If you're somebody that's struggled with ADHD, you know what I'm talking about. You start 27 projects, finish none, then you feel guilty. This is definitely dopamine imbalance. Don't beat yourself up. So many people have been there, and there are simple ways out. It's just taking the time, being intentional, and actually doing the things to make the biggest difference in your life. If you're getting too much fast dopamine, like scrolling, sugar, or constant task switching, that's what leads to your burnout. On the other hand, if you get too little steady dopamine, that means that you can't start and follow through. And those two can actually go hand in hand. It doesn't have to be one or the other, it can be both. Too much fast dopamine and too little steady dopamine all at once. And that's when you know that you've got a problem. You know that it's an issue because it's affecting your day to day life, it's affecting your relationships, it's affecting how you feel about yourself. Unfortunately, our modern lives drain dopamine faster than we could possibly replenish it. This is just the way life is now. We have constant notifications on our phones or our computers. Especially moms are constantly pushed into multitasking. We have to be doing three things at once or everything doesn't get done. And then switching between roles. I'm constantly having to switch roles from the Amanda you see here to mom Amanda or wife Amanda. It really can be detrimental, but there are ways that we can start shifting things to make it better. Another issue that we have is no built-in rest. I used to always be on, and I never had time to just sit and be. That makes your brain stuck in those short bursts of dopamine because you're not getting any rest to ground yourself in between those hits of dopamine. So if you feel really scatterbrained, which is something I've dealt with for a very long time, it's not a moral failure. It's actually chemistry and your environment working together in a way that's not helpful to you in real life. So before we add any dopamine hacks, let's start by taking out the things that drain us and framing it in a way that still works for your life. One thing that you could try is to reduce the constant scrolling. Now, I love social media as much as you do. There are so many apps and platforms that we can use to stay connected with other people and learn things. But let's start by setting a timer. There's actually an app that you can download. It is called Be Timeful. And what it does is it actually allows short timed access when you need to check something, but it effectively enforces a break after a set time. For example, if you're somebody that scrolls social media for 2 hours a day, you can have that Be Timeful app on your phone, on your tablet, on your computer that says, okay, maybe we're just going to do 20 minutes right now. And set that so that when you open up Facebook or open up TikTok or Instagram or any of those, it lets you like do the things you need to do on there, but it's at the agreed upon time says, okay, let's step away. Another thing that you could try is to cut any unnecessary task switching. So for me, I found that I would bounce from one task to another when some of those tasks were similar but never grouped together. And it's a good idea to start grouping tasks together. One of the things that has helped me is I do a lot of cooking for my family. I am the cooker of our family. I am head chef and sous chef and grocery shopper. I do all of those things together. Well, instead of doing all of that at, 4, 6 times a day, I batch those things together. I batch cook, I batch prep. And that really helps keep that dopamine shift way more level. So see if you can do things like that throughout your day instead of switching from unrelated tasks all the time. Try to group the tasks together that are kind of similar. Here's a gentle reminder also that even good dopamine spikes, like too many projects going on all at once, can absolutely drain you. This is me giving you permission to slow down. It's okay. It will wait on you. Do the important things first, and some things you just gotta give to God. It really is all about simplifying your load so that you can get to that place of balance for your life. Now that we went over a couple ways that we can start taking out the things that drain our dopamine, let's talk about things that can actually give your brain those sustainable wins. Things like movement. I'm not saying go run a marathon. I'm saying maybe you should stretch. Maybe you should take a walk. I call them more like a stroll. I take a nervous system stroll, and that helps regulate my nervous system, but also gives my brain a little bit of a gentle dopamine hit that you're doing something, you're moving your body. Also, scheduling things like a small, achievable task, something that you can start, do, actually finish, and celebrate. Those are repeatable things that, even though it sounds kind of silly and small, can create a big impact in your life. Another thing that can help with dopamine levels is getting creative. Creative in your work, creative in your play, doing things like writing or cooking a new recipe or gardening or painting or drawing or even coloring. Those things can really help give your brain those really small, subtle wins that help keep your dopamine levels more level and not so much like the craziest roller coaster you've ever even thought about going on. Your motivation is not broken. It just needs the right fuel. So for this week's action step, you are going to pick one of the dopamine drains to remove for this week and see how you feel. Let me know in the comments what your one dopamine drain that you're going to remove this week is, and then come back next week and let us know how it's going. It's all about creating a rhythm that works for you in your real life. And remember, God designed rhythms of work and of rest. We should honor both of those. Next week, we are going to simplify the crazy world of digestion and talk about why your gut might be the missing link to your energy, mood, and focus. Thanks for listening to Not Your Wellness Guru. If this episode gave you something to think about, something to feel, or something to unlearn, share it with a friend or leave a quick review. That is how this message spreads. You were never meant to hustle for health. You were designed to heal. Let's remember that together. See you next time.